Hello and welcome. I am Annette Reeder from thebiblicalnutritionist.com, and today we're going to take this head of cabbage and turn it into delicious sauerkraut. It is so simple, 3 ingredients. You can do this today and start enjoying sauerkraut this coming week. I can't wait to get started. But first, let me share with you, I enjoy teaching you God's recipe for excellent health. And if you want to learn more about what God's recipe for excellent health is all about, go to our academy, biblicalnutritionacademy.com, and learn more. We have courses on the Daniel Fast, 40-day transformation, so much to teach you, such great information if you truly are ready to see God at work in your life, both physically and spiritually. Now, it's time to make some sauerkraut. Before I chop up this cabbage, I want to point out the outer leaves. Like this outer leaf, it's kind of yucky, so I'm just going to tear that off and get rid of it. This leaf is not as bad. So what I could do is I can actually take this off and I can save it to be a lid in my cabbage. Now, if you think that one's not good enough either, well then go ahead to the next one and take this one off and use it as a lid in your sauerkraut. And I'll show you what I mean as we make it. And this one doesn't want to come off super easy. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside. I could do the same with the purple cabbage. So that one's, yeah, I don't really want that. And I didn't really get a big cabbage because I didn't really need that much. So I took one of the smaller ones out of the bin. So I could take the first purple leaf here. I know it's called red cabbage, but and just save that as the lid in my mason jars. So we'll save that. Now we'll just chop this up and start shredding. Now, if you have never used the slicer shredder that goes on the Bosch, it's so easy to assemble. Basically, you're just putting this piece, locking it into that post. Then we're putting this lid on top first. Just locking that, there we go. Next, we're gonna put this piece, it just locks right into that, which gives us our triangle that we're going to put in for this. Now, you have this two-sided shredder. You've got a large side and then a small. For this, I always use the large. And that just sets right in there. And then we have our top piece, which we have a hole right here for it to fit right over top that. And then this is going to lock in right like that. And then we have our top piece here to help push the food through. And that's it. I do also use the entire core of the cabbage. There's nothing wrong with it, and especially since it's going to be such small pieces, no one's going to think, oh, that's much chewier than the other pieces. They're not even going to know that I did it. So never waste your core. Okay, so I've got all of that done, and you can kind of just look in the bowl. I love mixing them as I'm chopping them up. So if you want to keep yours separate, then definitely you could. You could just chop one at a time and then take it out. I just kind of like having fun with the colors. Well, now that we have our cabbage greatly shredded, I love how easy it is to do that with the Bosch mixer. If you don't have the Bosch mixer and you're like, oh, I really need to get that, I'll put a link to it down below. Plus, I'm going to give you a coupon to save some money on that purchase. So we're going to put 2 tablespoons of salt on this cabbage. Our goal is to extract the juice, the water out of the cabbage, and to create a brine. And it just works naturally. It works in a great way. It's just so great how God designed our foods to work for us, to be a blessing to our body. And salt definitely is one of those blessings. I hope you've already watched my video on what is the meaning of salt. So there we have a tablespoon, and do another one. What we're going to do then is let this sit for 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes, we will start to see the water being pulled from the vegetables, which is why sometimes when you're cooking and sauteing, you don't want to salt your vegetables until you're done, because you don't want the water to come out. You want it to stay in the vegetables. It just kind of depends on your how you're trying to get the final effect of your vegetables. So there we have it all mixed in. We have the salt very well blended. So we're going to let this sit 30 minutes. Then we're going to start packing it into our jars and really see the effect of that salt on our vegetables. Now that we're ready to move on, you can use any seasonings that you want in your cabbage. So you might want to use some dill seed, some dill weed, we've got some chives, and also some caraway seeds. You can also use celery seed. This would make a delicious addition to your cabbage and to your sauerkraut. So you can kind of see we already have a good liquid. It is starting its own brine juice, so this is going to be perfect. So just kind of play with the flavors, see what you like best. I like to use celery seed, and sometimes I use some caraway seed. So now we're going to pack it in our jars. I like to use my canning funnel. It just seems to save me on making as big of a mess. So I'm going to go ahead and start packing that in. And as you pack it in, you want to start tamping it down. So I'm going to go ahead and just take my tamper and just start pushing that down. Some cooks will, and some bloggers and some good recipe people will tell you to just go ahead and start massaging it with your hands to really start pulling that water out of the vegetables. So tamping it down, massaging it with your hands, both is going to work. So just decide, hey, I think I need to get some frustration out, so I'm just going to use my hands and massage it. Or you may say, oh no, I get my frustration out by jamming this down. So hopefully you don't have that kind of stress in your life, but it does happen. So I'm just going to fill this jar up. And I definitely want to tamp it down as much as possible because that keeps the brine on the cabbage, so it works better and it works quicker. And it just actually is going to fill up my jar better too. So that's just as important. So let me just tamp that down. My goal is that the juice starts to cover the cabbage. And you can kind of see how high the juice is already pretty much there. And we're just going to keep going. Good. This is working out beautifully. So the best jar is the wide mouth and also the quart jars. You can definitely make smaller amounts. We have, our pint jar here. We'll use that as well. The wide mouth is going to be the easiest to use, and there's two reasons for that. One, it just makes it easier to just tamp it down, although I can definitely do it with a small mouth. And then the second reason is because I have some fermenting lids that only come in a wide size. So that's why it's really good for me. I'm going to go ahead and fill this up some more. There we go. Definitely want to keep tamping that down. And again, you can kind of see how that water is coming to the top. That is working exactly like we want it to. Now, what we want to do is make sure the cabbage stays below the water level. Now, there's a couple ways of doing that. Now, if I want to just not have to worry about it, I could buy a lid. This is a company that I have bought lids from, the Easy Fermenter. It works really well. You don't have to worry about anything. You just put the lid on. You can just set the date of when you made it. Okay, so if today was the 14th, I would set the date right there as the 14th. That tells me, it reminds me when I started this batch, and I would just seal that up and I'm done. I don't have to worry about keep pushing it down. It's going to be always good. The other way is if I want to do it the way I showed you at first. This is a batch I did actually it was about a week ago. And to hold it down, I did this. I took the leaf from the cabbage and I used that as my plate. So a lot of different recipes, they'll say put a plate down on the cabbage. And then on top of the plate, let me see if I can get this back out of there. I used one of my jars And so I had the leaf down there first, and then I put the jar on top to keep pushing it down, and it worked beautifully. Now I've been kind of sampling out of this, so we don't really have the water on top like I should, because I've been sampling it and just seeing, well, what day do I like it the best? What day is it the best flavor? And I'm going to go ahead and put this in the refrigerator because it is exactly the flavor that I like. But this is a larger jar, as you can see, and I'm able to use it for this, which is great. So two different ways. So you could use this and then find something like this to press it down. So we just put that lid on it, but we can take it back off and just show you how that works. So we've got great water there. So if I were to just put this in there and just keep that pushed down. So we already have water coming on top, which is perfect. Now right now, because that's doing so well, I could, if it was down lower, I could use this to push it. So now that I know that the water is staying where I want it, I can then take a nice clean, I've got these organic tea towels, put this over top because I don't want any bugs or dust in it, put a rubber band on top, and then I have my little container. Now I just think that's kind of cute sitting on my shelf like that. So two different options. So you have the rubber band and the towel, or you have the pre-bought where you don't ever have to worry about it. It's just going to be done for you. So two really good options. Pick the one that works best for you. If you are like, I don't have time to mess with it, I'm just going to buy the lids. Yeah, I totally get it. Here we have what I just made. We have the batch that I made a week ago. We have with the towel and the rubber band, and then we have this lid. So they're all good options. They're all good ways to store it. So this is going straight in the refrigerator. What I want you to know is this is not going to need to be touched. You can see the liquid level is on top of the cabbage. You can see that is working perfectly already. And this one is getting there. I need to tamp it down some more. So what I'm going to have to do with this one, because it is more of a manual way of making it, is come in every couple of days, or actually every day, and tamp it down some more to make sure the liquid stays on top of, that there's actually a layer of liquid on top of the cabbage. And that's what's going to give us our sauerkraut. Now this is going to be ready to eat within anywhere from 36 to 48 hours. You could start sampling it and see how much you like it. It's going to get a little bit deeper flavor the longer it ferments. So you might have yours and say, well, I really like mine to ferment for 7 days and then it's at the best flavor that I enjoy. It might be 10 days. So it doesn't matter, it's what flavor you like the best. So you could start enjoying this within 2 to 3 days, or you could say, nope, I'm going to wait a week or 10 days because that's the flavor I love. When it reaches the flavor you love, then you would take this lid off or this lid off and put just your regular lid like I have on this big container here, whatever canning lid you use. Now if you make more than you can eat at the time, or your garden is just going crazy, you can go ahead and water bath can this. That way you'll have a seal on it and you have food that'll last you forever. This is the perfect way to serve our food in prepper style in case the food goes crazy, the price goes crazy, it becomes unavailable. You are ready to serve your family and serve your family super nutritious food. Well, I hope you enjoyed learning how to make sauerkraut. If you've never made it before, put your comments down below. Are you ready to do it? Are you no longer intimidated? Because I kind of was. There's so many science things that have to take place when you start fermenting, yet that just became a scare factor and it really didn't apply. So I want to read your comments on how you like this. Do you like the purple cabbage? Do you like the green cabbage, Napa cabbage, whatever cabbage you choose? But let's start eating some sauerkraut. Let's start eating some fermented foods. So fermented foods give us that prebiotic, and prebiotics go in and they feed the bacteria, the good bacteria. When this takes place, you can actually overcome any of the negative balances in your bacteria. So if you've been on an antibiotic, we need to start eating some fermented foods because we need to reestablish the good guys. There's always good guys, there's always bad guys. You just need to understand that. Which one we feed is the one that excels and expresses itself. So if the bad bacteria are expressing themselves with ugly moods or headaches, digestive issues, pain, inflammation, then we need to start feeding the good guys so that they can start giving you, okay, I can handle this. I've got a mood, yes, and it's a mood that says, I've got this. I'm a victor, not a victim. And so that's what happens when you have good bacteria in your gut. So the bacteria need to be fed. This is what we feed them to have good moods, less pain, less inflammation.